The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey guys, thanks for joining me tonight. My name is Jackie Miller. Some of you, I see some familiar names on here, and I live down in Sarasota, Florida. I've worked with QT2 Systems for about 7 years now, and I'm a coach as well as team manager, and I educate our new coaches coming into our company. We have, as you can see on the screen, we have a few different brands. We started with QT2 Systems, and we moved into, after that, having the Core Diet, which is our nutrition company. And then we acquired Outrival Racing, which is another brand of triathlon coaching, and then the Run Formula and the Cycling Formula, which, as you can imagine, the Run Formula is run coaching and Cycling Formula is cycle coaching for bike racing. So tonight we're going to talk about a little bit about becoming an Ironman, what it entails, and what the sign-up process involves, as well as a new program we're launching, which is a really special program geared just for people who are getting ready to tackle their first Ironman. And we got together a few coaches in the company that we thought would be really awesome at working with first timers. And so the group of us have been planning this program for a few months now, and we're really excited to launch it. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So there is a little box. If you have any questions, just type them in. I'm going to open that box now on my screen so I'll see questions as they come in. And we'll also have time at the end to answer questions as well. So let's see. Open this box here, my screen. All right, there we go. Okay, so the box is open. If you have any questions, just type them in and they should pop up on my screen. And let's get started. All right, we start all of our webinars with the 5 cornerstones of QT2 Systems. This is what our brand is based on with racing and training. So the 5 cornerstones of having a successful outcome on your race. The first one is training, which, as you can imagine, it's just the day-to-day swim, bike, run, strength training. Second is nutrition and rest. We place a lot of emphasis on recovery, resting, and fueling your body properly, not only on a day-to-day basis, but also your training, your day in and day out, swim, bike, run. Without these 2 things, really, you're not going to have the best outcome that you can have on a day-to-day basis. Both of these cornerstones, training, nutrition, and rest, are considered preparation for race day. The third cornerstone is race fueling. This is what we put into our bodies on not only racing really, but training as well. It's your gels, it's your bars that you're eating, and it's your electrolyte drinks. And that is a very scientific experiment for a lot of people. And we have a staff of certified dietitians at the Core Diet, and they work really well with athletes on nailing this down, especially for people with some sensitive issues. The fourth cornerstone is pacing, and this is your heart rate, your wattage on your bike if you're using a power meter, and just the pacing of the race in general, making sure you're pacing well and you're not going to blow up before the race is over. And we consider those the execution of the race. And finally, mental fitness, and that is how tough you are in the mind. And a lot of people spend hours and hours training their bodies, but no one really prepares their mind for the rigors of race day. And as you can imagine, the longer the race becomes, the more mentally strong we need to be. So that's something that you really need to work on in addition to strengthening your body, is also strengthening your mind. And altogether, these make up our race outcome, how well we perform on race day. So moving along from the 5 cornerstones, what is Ironman? And I'm not going to read all this to you, but you can read as we go along. But it's very hard. It's a hard day, but it's very rewarding. It requires dedication because your journey to Ironman can be anywhere from 6 to 12 months. You have to have a big desire to want to do this race, and you have to know why you want to do this race. Most people have a pretty good reason. Maybe just they want a really big goal. They want to tackle a big challenge. They're doing it for some kind of mission or to set a good example for their children. But in addition to your why, it's going to require it's persistence and a lot of work, and you're going to have to sacrifice a lot in those 6 to 12 months that you're working on Ironman and training and getting to race day. It's a really good way to learn how to set really big goals and break them down into smaller goals day by day and learn how to reach these goals. It's very rewarding when race day comes around. And the bottom, the training is a lot of fun at times. You meet a lot of really awesome people, especially if you have a group in your town of a lot of people that are doing the same race. If not, you can find friends, remote online, Facebook, that are all training. All the big Ironman races all have their own Facebook pages, and it's fun to join these pages and kind of chit chat back and forth with people. Also, the training can be very grueling at times, and there's going to be a lot of mornings where you don't want to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and go jump into the swimming pool. But it's the people who kind of ignore that and use their strong mind to go ahead and get up at that 4 or 5 o'clock hour if you have to, or do the training sessions after work and be dedicated with their training. The training at times will reach deep down inside and rip out every shred of dignity that you ever thought you had. But along the way, you're going to make some of the best friends and some of the best memories that you can ever imagine. In training, you're going to experience a lot of different emotions. You're going to laugh, you're going to cry, you'll be angry a lot of the times, and you're going to be really tired and grumpy. And sometimes you're going to feel on top of the world. You're going to walk in after a 5 or 6 hour bike ride and just be really proud of yourself and really amazed that you just accomplished something so significant. And I always, every time there's an Ironman, Iron Year, I should call it, there's stories and more stories, and it's always about the stories. When race day is over, you're going to look back with your friends, and you're going to have a lot of stories to relive. And finally, the best part about racing Ironman is it's a privilege, a blessing, and a gift to have the physical and mental capabilities to be an Ironman. And one of my favorite quotes is, "We don't have to do this, we get to do this." So next, we're just going to move into what is this program all about, this First Timers program that we're launching. So what is it? It is a program for someone taking on the challenge of their very first full distance Ironman race. And why do you need this? Your first Ironman is very special. It's a life-changing event, and having a professional support system can make this a bit more manageable. You're going to have a team of people to fall back on in addition to your coach. And how much does it cost? So the cost is nothing extra in addition to our one-on-one coaching. So you just sign up, you get assigned your coach, you say you want to be in the program for one of the races we're about to talk about, and there's no additional cost. You're just going to get a lot of extra perks in addition to your coach. So it really can include any race, but the races we're targeting, and I'll tell you why. We have every year we pick key races for our team to race. So these are races where we try to get a large group of athletes together at the same race, and we make it a big fun weekend. We have a team breakfast, we have social gatherings, we see each other out in the race course. We have tents on the run course where athletes of ours who aren't racing are there cheering. Family members can be at the tent cheering. And it's just, we try to make it a really fun weekend. So the races this year, we have Ironman Texas, which is just in a few months. So the program that we're launching is probably going to have to be for next year for Ironman Texas. If anybody decides they're already signed up and training for Texas, by all means, we're still going to have the same team breakfast. We're going to have the party tent there this year anyhow. So we'll figure that one out for you. So the two remaining key races we're going to be looking at is Ironman Lake Placid, which is July 28th. And so the program for that is starting right up on January 28th. We're trying to run the program for 6 full months before race day. And then we are going to look at doing Ironman Florida on November 2nd. So the beginning of that program will start on May 2nd. What does this program include? What are your extra perks in addition to coaching? Well, obviously, we already talked about you're going to have a coach. So what does a coach exactly do? I know a lot of you, I can see a lot, I recognize some of the names on here, and I know some of you are already athletes of ours, and some of you already have coaches in the company. that's great. Some of you might be coaching your own self. You may be doing an online plan. I do, and I am not trying to sell you coaching services, but if it's your first Ironman, I highly recommend investing in a certified coach. So your coach is going to guide you on the journey, and they're going to talk to you about, what your weaknesses are, what kind of time you have for training, what your outside activities are in addition to your family and work, and come up with a nice training plan for you that's going to work in your life and hopefully keep you balanced and not destroy your whole life with doing nothing but training. And then your coach is also going to help you with fueling for your training and your racing, give you race strategies and tips, talk about recovery with you. So, Ironman takes a big toll on the body, Ironman training, I should say, and the race takes a big toll on your body. So we really place a large emphasis on recovering each day. And these will be some of the things your coach would suggest for you to do, as well as discuss race day pacing and tips. What we're really excited about is we are going to have coaches on site at each of these races at Texas and Florida and Lake Placid. And we are going to give the athletes that are in this program personal attention, which is really unheard of because most coaches don't go to all of their athletes' races. So it may not be your own personal coach, but it will be one of our coaches at the race. We are, kind of nicknaming it like a concierge service for Ironman, just like you have a concierge doctor service where you just kind of call your doctor for anything you need. That's kind of going to be what our coaches will be there on race week for our athletes. So, maybe you get to the race site and you have a mental breakdown, you're really scared, you don't think you can do it. So you call one of the coaches and say, hey, I'm really scared. I need a pep talk me off the ledge. And you can meet with the coach and during the race weekend and hopefully get some confidence built back up. The coaches will also be there to help you figure out your gear bags, help you get your bike checked in, figure out like walking around the race site and show you where the changing tents are and discuss, how transitions walk around the race site and in and out of transition and just kind of give you suggestions on what to do. We'll also have gatherings that weekend. We'll have just fun things, meet up for happy hour, not necessarily for cocktails if you're racing, but just fun times with other athletes and coaches and family members. And of course, our famous pancake breakfast, QT2 is famous for. So we will gather our teammates together the day before the race at a restaurant, or at Lake Placid we do it at a hotel in the ballroom, and we provide breakfast. It's usually lots of yummy pancakes and bacon and eggs and potatoes and biscuits and toast, all the good carbs to help you get fueled up for your race day. These are a lot of fun. We usually talk about course logistics. We have a nice presentation at Lake Placid over a lot of details for the course. And we just keep eating until we're super stuffed, and then we leave and we go get ready to check our bikes and our gear bags in to get ready for race day the next day. And of course, the party tent. Yes, we're going to have a tent on the course, like I mentioned before. This will be a tent for your family and friends to come cheer at. We'll usually have some subs for lunch. We'll have snacks, drinks, waters, beers throughout the day and evening. And we're really just there at the tent pretty much the whole day and night until our last athlete crosses the finish line. So you can come after you're done racing and cheer the rest of the people on, or you can have your family there. It's just a lot of fun. The tents are just a party on the run course pretty much. Another feature we're going to offer are monthly webinars. Now, we put on a lot of webinars at QT2. At least once a month, one of our coaches will present a webinar on a various topic. Some of these webinars may be things you might not be interested in because they're a little too advanced for you, or maybe you want to see them, but you're a little intimidated to ask questions because you feel like you're a newbie. So these webinars will only be for the people in our program. They're only going to be first timers on the webinars, and the topics of these webinars will be based specifically to needs and things a first timer is going to need to know. So these are just for you and just for you to ask questions. And these are always recorded and saved in case you can't be on the webinar live. They're always recorded. We're also going to have one of our dietitians present one on specific nutrition and fueling needs. And that would be a great chance for you guys to hop on that webinar and ask questions that you may be experiencing difficulties with with GI distress, or maybe you're bonking at the end of your rides and you need some specific information from a dietitian, and this webinar will be just for that. In addition to the monthly webinars, we're going to have live chats. How is this different from a webinar? Well, the webinar has a specific topic, like tonight. This is the webinar. We have a topic. I'm presenting it on a webinar. A coach will be presenting it. On our chat rooms, we have software where you log on pretty much just as you do for a webinar. However, on your screen, you're going to see a coach sitting there, one of our coaches, in their home on their laptop, and they're just sitting there waiting for you guys to ask questions. So you just type in your questions about any old thing, any problems you're having, any advice you need, and the coach is just there to answer questions for you. And we will be also doing these once a month, and the coaches will be rotating. We'll be rotating through the coaches that are in this program that are geared towards just teaching coaching the first timers. And that way you guys can get different advice from different coaches, just different opinions and just different feedback from different people. We will also have a dietitian, one of our dietitians, do a couple of these chats as well. And last but not least, a special t-shirt just for you, because you know we all love t-shirts. So we're going to have a t-shirt just for you to wear. Say you're training for your first Ironman. It's a good conversation starter when people see you wearing it. So that's pretty much the package in general. And hopefully that sounds enticing to you. And so let's get into the more nitty gritty details of Ironman itself. So here's the couple things we're going to cover briefly. We're not getting deeply involved in any of these. I'm trying to make this not super long for you guys tonight, so you guys can get off to your dinner and family. So we're going to go over the Ironman registration process, approximate cost involved in the year of Ironman, and the time, of course, and then just some tips on finding your place to stay and how do you get your bike to these races if it's far away. So first, these first few slides are taken from the Ironman site, and we're not going to go through all the details. However, this webinar is going to be stored in our library, so if you do need to look back and figure out, I can't remember what they were saying on that webinar about transferring races, so I'm not going to read through all this. It's very lengthy, but it is here for you. You can also get it off the Ironman website, which is exactly where I got it. So it used to be not that long ago, just a few years ago, where signing up for an Ironman was really a stressful situation. You sometimes had to actually be present at the race to sign up the next day in person or be one of the volunteers, because a lot of times the race would sell out so fast that you could not get online and register and get into the race. One year, Ironman Florida almost sold out entirely to the people who were on site, to the people who went to the race to volunteer. And so when it went online the next day, it sold out in 43 seconds. One year, Ironman Arizona, same thing. It sold out on site to the people who were there volunteering and had flown or driven to Arizona to register in person. So it's not like that anymore. They've added a lot of races, so they don't normally sell out right away. They do sell out at some point, but usually not minutes after the registration opens. Registration for Ironman always opens on the day after the race, except for in special situations when you get an early entry. So some people that are in tri clubs will win early entries. The tri club itself will win. So anybody in that tri club gets a link or enter early. And as well as all world athletes also get early entry into some of the Ironman events. A new also feature that Ironman has come out with this past year, it used to be just one registration, $700 for your entry fee. They now do, just as any of your local races do, a tiered registration where the earlier you register, the cheaper it's going to be. So it is a triple tiered process with Ironman. So if you can get in on the first tier, it's going to be about $650 for your registration fee, all the way up to about $850 if you get on that very last tier. Once it's sold out, they still do offer charity slots where you can pay and a portion of your entry fee goes to a charity, or you have to raise money for the foundation. And that is usually about double what the entry fee is. They are now also, as of this past year, offering a payment plan. So, obviously for a lot of people, it's really hard to come up with $700 all at once just to pay for a race. So now they are doing payment plans, and you can make 3 payments, and they'll send you an email when your payments are due. However, even if you sign up on that first day and you want to do the payment plan, you're still going to be charged the higher tier 3 price if you choose to do the payment plan. Another new feature for registration is transferring to another Ironman. So let's say your wife gets pregnant and your due date is close to the day of the race you signed up for. So they do allow you to transfer to another race. There are some stipulations involved, such as it has to be in the same calendar year, it has to be to a North American race, and it has to be a race that is not sold out. So there are some stipulations involved in that. Just some more details on the transferring. I'm not going to read through these, but they will be here if you need to go back and look them over. Still talking about the transfer. Also, what I didn't put on the slide is they are also offering an insurance plan now on full and half Ironman races, which they also didn't offer. Just a few years ago, before they came out with the insurance policy, if you decided for some reason you could not do your Ironman and you broke your leg or got sick or for some reason just couldn't make it to the race, there's a certain date you had to request that you couldn't race, and you would only get about $150 back. They now sell an insurance plan that's an additional $100 on your entry fee, but if something happens to you, you do get 100% of your registration fee back by paying that $100 insurance. So the cost to do Ironman, this isn't for the entry fee. This is over the course of your year, 6 months to a year, whatever you decide your training is going to be. So you can figure approximately $50 to $100 a month for your fueling needs. When I say your nutrition, I'm not talking about your groceries from the grocery store. I'm talking about your electrolyte drinks, your gels, your bars, things you're going to be eating and drinking on your swims, your bikes, and your runs. Of course, you're going to be putting a lot of miles on your bike, so this is going to require a few extra tune-ups, possibly some repairs, going through the Ironman year. So you can figure at least $150 and up for repairs and bike tune-ups. I would say you're going to at least need 2 tune-ups, especially one right before the race. Gear is really depending on the athlete. It depends on what you have, what you need. When I say gear, I'm talking about clothing, shoes, bike shoes, helmets, sunglasses, pool toys, bathing suits, things like that that you wear for swimming, biking, and running. If you need to use tri-bike transport to get your bike to the race site, that's approximately another $350. If you're flying to your race, of course, this can vary largely, but we're just figuring $200 to $400 each airline ticket you need to purchase. And then lodging for race week, depending on how many nights you're staying, what kind of place the race is in. I mean, Lake Placid is a lot more expensive lodging than, say, Ironman Florida. So you can figure a minimum of about $900 for the week and up from there. Sometimes people like to go away for training weekends, so you can figure a couple $100 for a training weekend or two throughout the year. And then, of course, I already mentioned your race entry can be anywhere from $700 to $800 plus $100 for the optional insurance. So you can figure approximately for the course of the year about $2,000 to $4,000, including your entry. The time involved over the course of the year really varies from athlete to athlete. It depends on how much time they want to dedicate. Some people have a lot of free time. Maybe they're retired. Maybe they work from home, so their schedule is very flexible. Maybe they don't work, so they have more time for training. Maybe they want to be a little more competitive, so they're willing to put some things on the back burner, some of their other extracurricular activities. So it's really up to the athlete. But on an average, you can expect approximately 10 to 15 plus hours a week of training to get through your to have the best results for your Ironman. So you're not going to start right out at 10 hours. You may start at 5 or 6 hours your first couple weeks, work into 10 hours on an average, and then peak your biggest weeks maybe 15 to 18 hours of training for a couple weeks out of the big 6 months of training. Just some tips on lodging. When you register for your race, they're going to give you a list of host hotels. These aren't always necessarily the very best option. Host hotels are usually the closest hotels to the race site, and the race director usually tries to set up a small discount at these hotels. But even with the discount, again, it's not always the cheapest place to stay. If money's no object and you want to be super close to the race site, you want to be around a lot of the other athletes, then by all means go for it. It's just, again, staying in a hotel also is going to cost you a little more because you're going to have to eat every single meal out. So it's really nice sometimes to look on VRBO or Airbnb and get with some of your other teammates or your other athletes and share a house. So you can get a 4-bedroom house and you can have 4 couples, or you can even, if you don't mind cramming people in, people can, sleep on air mattresses, sleep on pullouts, just depending on what your budget is. And then that way you also have a full house. You have, you're not just in a hotel room with a bed and a desk. You have a living room and a place to eat. You have a kitchen to cook in, so you don't have to eat everything out in restaurants. So it's sometimes more comfortable and usually cheaper to rent a home at the race site. So you should really consider looking at lodging and booking the minute you register for your race, because the best places do sell out quick. Especially people tend to, especially Ironman Florida and Ironman Lake Placid are popular races. People do them year after year and they know the best places to stay. So these places go pretty quick. So make sure you book your place as soon as you book your race. So if you're choosing a race that's really far away, what do you do with your bike? How are you going to get your bike there? So you're not, you don't want to drive 20 hours to get to the race, so you're going to fly. So what do you do with your bike? How do you get your bike there when you're flying on an airplane? There's a few different options. So you can buy or rent a bike box and fly it on the airplane with you. The bike box will go in the baggage compartment under the plane. A lot of times they do tend to open the bike boxes and kind of mess with your stuff a little bit, not purposely trying to damage anything, but just exploring the bike box. There will also be a fee if you don't know how to take your bike apart. There may be a small fee from your bike shop to disassemble the pieces that need to be disassembled and to put it in the box for you. And again, at the race site, same thing. Somebody may charge you a small fee to put the pieces back on. Just some sample pricing to fly your bike at the bottom. I just looked up online. JetBlue and Southwest charge $50 each way per bike. And then Delta and the US Air are a little more expensive, where it's $200 each way to fly your bike. So just as expensive as your own airplane ticket. Frontier started as of April of, I think it's this year, they're going to do away with their bike handling fees for people who have bought the more expensive tickets. There's a really great company called Tri-Bike Transport, and it's about $350 to use Tri-Bike Transport. It's super easy. I've used them a lot of times myself. You just take your bike to one of their partner shops. Usually there's a shop in your town that's a partner with Tri-Bike Transport. There's a certain day, sometimes it's up to 2 weeks before the race, so that's a a little bit of a drawback is that you're without your bike for a couple weeks before the race, so you'll need to find a backup bike. So you just take your bike straight to the bike shop. They take your pedals off for you, and then a semi truck picks your bike up. They wrap it in a blanket. They bungee all the bikes in there safely into the back of the semi truck, and then they drive it to the race site. Once you get to the race site at the expo, there's a tri-bike tent right there, and your bike will be out of the truck and sitting on a bike rack for you to come pick up. And the very best part is race day. When you're done racing, a family member can go get your bike out of transition for you while you're still out there running, take it right back over to Tri-Bike Transport, and you don't have to see it again until you get back home. So it's a really nice setup. It makes it super easy for you as an athlete. And then there's a newer company called Bike Flights. These prices vary, but it's basically packing your bike up and then a company flies your bike to the race site. So those are some ideas on how to get your bike to the race. What does a typical training week look like for Ironman? A typical training week pattern may look something like this. Monday might be a day off or an easy recovery swim. The weekends are hard and long, so usually Mondays are just kind of a shakeout swim to get the lactic acid broken up and try to get everything loosened up again. Tuesday is usually some kind of a key bike, maybe a bike in the morning and a run in the afternoon, or a bike run combo. Wednesday is some sort of swim, again, trying to give the legs a little break from the biking and the running. Usually more of a key swim where you're working on strength or you're working on getting your endurance up for the long distance swimming, or maybe you're working on your speed with some tempo work. So some kind of key swim, maybe even a recovery bike or a recovery run in addition to the swim on Wednesdays. Thursday, again, you're going to have some kind of a key bike and a key run. Again, it can be a bike in the morning, a run in the afternoon, or it might be all together where you're having a bike and then you run right off your bike with a transition run. Friday, again, trying to give the legs a little break, getting ready for the big weekend to come. So again, Friday usually is just a swim of some sort, usually a key swim of some kind, but usually nothing else that's going to tire the legs out. And then Saturday for most people are their long ride with a run off the bike. And then Sunday is usually everyone's long run. And sometimes they may have a short little interval ride before the long run starts. And this is just to get you used to running on tired legs, because in Ironman, of course, you're running a marathon after a 112-mile bike. So one of the number one things to learn how to do is run long distance on very tired legs. So finally, another one of my favorite quotes about Ironman, and it was created by the founder of Ironman, John Collins. You can quit and they won't care, but you will always know. So once you commit to doing an Ironman, it's really just stick it out. There's going to be times where you're questioning why you decided to do this race, why you signed up for this race. But if you can just stick it out to the end and make it through that finish chute, it will all be worth it. So that is all I have for you. I hope everyone has really good luck in getting to their Ironman journey. And if anybody has any questions, just go ahead and type them in. If you can't think of any questions now, but you may think of some later after you've had time to process all of this information, please feel free to email me. My email is right at the bottom of the screen, Jackie@qt2systems.com. Also, Jackie@outrivalracing.com will also work. So I hope you guys enjoyed the evening. Hold on, we have a question coming in. It's kind of, let's see here. How long in advance should you arrive prior to the race? So if the race is on a Saturday, I would say arrive by Wednesday. If the race is on a Sunday, I would say arrive by Thursday. And then do not leave the very next day. So if your race is Sunday, try to stay till Tuesday. If your race is Saturday, try to stay till Monday. I know that doesn't always work for work schedules, but the next day you're super sore, as you can imagine. And it's really nice to have a day after your race to just celebrate, relax, enjoy some meals with friends, some cocktails. So, yeah, and then the check-in is usually let's pretend the race is Saturday. You usually can't get your bag and register after Friday. So you definitely need to be there by Thursday, Friday at the latest. And then, I'm sorry, Saturday race. So Thursday would be the last day you could register and check in and get your bags and get your timing chips, because then Friday you check in your gear bags and your bikes, and then you race Saturday. So Wednesday is why I recommend getting there, because the lines are a lot shorter. If you get, let's just pretend we're talking about Ironman Florida, which is a Saturday race. You get there Wednesday, you go check in. There's virtually very short to no lines. You can get off your feet. You can check the expo out early in the week, and then you're not like going through the expo closer to race day when you need to be off your feet. So then you check in Wednesday. Thursday can be a little bit of a free day. Go shopping at the expo again if you want, see the town. And then Friday you'll check your bike and your gear bags in, and Saturday's the race. Good question. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Well, I hope you guys choose one of these races and we see you in our program. Um, they're both amazing races. I've done both of them. Ironman. I live in Florida, as I said earlier. Lake Placid was a very challenging race for me because very, very hilly. However, one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. Ironman Florida, flat, saltwater swims, what I'm used to. A little bit easier of a race for me personally, but definitely not as scenic as Ironman Florida. I've also done Texas, and that's a really fun place to do an Ironman as well. The course, some of the bike course isn't super scenic, but it's a very fun run course. You run through a lot of fun areas with a lot of people, so you really can't go wrong with any of these races. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to sign off, let you guys get back to your families and dinner if you haven't eaten yet. Hope you have a great night. And again, email me if you have any questions that come up later. And thanks for joining in.